Imagine wearing a crown so heavy it could snap your neck, a necklace so tight it leaves bruises, earrings that literally draw blood. For centuries, we've watched royals glide through ceremonies dripping in diamonds, rubies, and emeralds worth millions. They smile, they wave, they look absolutely majestic. But what if I told you that behind those perfect photographs and practiced smiles, many modern royals are silently suffering, that some of these priceless treasures are actually instruments of torture? Today, we're revealing the shocking truth about 10 crown jewels that modern royals secretly hate wearing. From Queen Camilla's nightmare tiara to the earrings that made Princess Kate wince in pain, these stories will change how you see royal glamour forever. Stay with me, because number 3 is so heavy that it's actually caused injuries, and number 1, well, let's just say even Queen Elizabeth herself admitted she hated it. Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell, because we dive deep into the untold stories of royalty that you won't find anywhere else. When we think of crown jewels, we imagine fairy tales. We picture Cinderella at the ball, draped in sparkling jewels, dancing without a care in the world. But the reality, it's far from the fairy tale. These precious pieces aren't just accessories, they're symbols of power, history, and duty. Some are hundreds of years old, many weigh several pounds, and almost all of them were designed in an era when comfort was the last thing anyone considered. Modern royals are expected to wear these historical artifacts for hours during state banquets, coronations, weddings, and official portraits. They can't complain, they can't take them off for a break, and they certainly can't refuse to wear them. But in rare, candid moments, some royals have let slip just how uncomfortable, painful, and downright exhausting these jewels really are. So let's count down the 10 crown jewels that modern royals absolutely dread wearing, starting with number 10. Coming in at number 10 is a tiara that looks absolutely stunning in photographs, but is reportedly a nightmare to wear, the Cambridge Lover's Knot tiara. This magnificent piece was a favorite of Princess Diana, and now it's regularly worn by Catherine, the Princess of Wales. With its dangling pearls and diamond-encrusted design, it's one of the most photographed tiaras in the royal collection. But here's what most people don't know. Princess Diana herself admitted that this tiara gave her terrible headaches. The problem? Weight and balance. The Cambridge Lover's Knot features 19 hanging pearls suspended from diamond lover's knot bows. While this creates a beautiful cascading effect, it also makes the tiara extremely front-heavy. The pearls swing with every movement, creating an unbalanced weight distribution that puts constant pressure on the forehead. Diana once told her hairdresser that the tiara was so heavy and uncomfortable that she dreaded wearing it. She said it gave her headaches that would last for hours after events. Despite knowing this, Princess Catherine has worn it numerous times, continuing the tradition. But body language experts have noted that she often adjusts it subtly during events and seems to hold her head more stiffly when wearing it compared to other tiaras. The Cambridge Lover's Knot weighs approximately 35 grams of diamonds and pearls, which might not sound like much, but when perched on top of your head for 4 or 5 hours during a state banquet, it becomes increasingly unbearable. Royal jewel expert Ella Kay explains that many antique tiaras weren't designed with ergonomics in mind. They were created to impress, not to comfort, and the Cambridge Lover's Knot is a perfect example of beauty over practicality. We have a piece that Queen Elizabeth II received as a coronation gift but rarely wore, the Brazilian aquamarine parure necklace. In 1953, the President and people of Brazil gifted the young Queen Elizabeth a stunning set of aquamarines and diamonds. The necklace is absolutely breathtaking, featuring large rectangular aquamarine stones surrounded by diamonds. So why did the Queen rarely wear it? 2 words: neck strain. The necklace sits very low and tight on the neck, almost like a choker. The large aquamarine stones are extremely heavy, and the piece has very little flexibility. Former royal dresser Angela Kelly revealed in her memoir that the Queen found this necklace particularly uncomfortable because it restricted her movement. Imagine trying to turn your head to greet guests, nod politely, or look down at your dinner plate while wearing what essentially amounts to several pounds of rocks around your neck. The aquamarines alone weigh a considerable amount, and the setting adds even more weight. Queen Elizabeth was known for her incredible sense of duty and rarely complained about her royal obligations, but those close to her noted that she would often opt for lighter pieces when given a choice, and the Brazilian aquamarine parure was one of the first to be set aside. When Queen Camilla inherited access to this piece, she initially wore it for a state portrait, but insiders say that after the hours-long photo session, she understood exactly why Elizabeth had been selective about wearing it. The weight of the stones combined with the rigid design made it feel more like a medieval punishment device than a piece of jewelry. The parure also includes matching earrings and a tiara, but it's the necklace that's particularly problematic. It's a beautiful piece of history, but one that modern royals approach with caution. Number 8 on our list might surprise you, because we're talking about earrings. How bad could earrings be? Well, these particular earrings are reportedly painful enough that Princess Catherine has been seen wincing while wearing them. The King George VI Victorian suite includes a necklace and earrings featuring large pear-shaped diamonds. These earrings are magnificent, with each one featuring a round, brilliant diamond stud connected to a substantial pear-shaped diamond drop. The problem? They're extremely heavy. And unlike modern earrings with comfortable backs and weight distribution, these Victorian-era pieces use simple wire hooks and screw backs. Princess Catherine has worn these earrings to several high-profile events, and sharp-eyed royal watchers have noticed something interesting. She frequently touches her earlobes or adjusts the earrings, and in several photographs her earlobes appear red and swollen afterward. One royal jewel expert explained that earrings from this era weren't designed for all-day wear. They were meant for portraits or brief appearances. Wearing them for hours at a state banquet or during a long ceremony can cause the earlobes to become stretched, sore, and even torn. There's actually a condition called earlobe ptosis, or stretched earlobe, which can result from wearing heavy earrings regularly. The weight of the diamonds literally pulls down on the delicate tissue of the earlobe, causing pain and, over time, permanent stretching. Modern royals have the option to have jewelers adjust and modernize the fittings, but many historical pieces must remain untouched to preserve their historical integrity. This means that when Catherine wears these earrings, she's dealing with the same uncomfortable design that women endured over a century ago. Several times, Catherine has chosen to wear lighter, more modern earrings instead, despite the pressure to wear historical pieces. And who can blame her? Beauty shouldn't require blood sacrifice. At number 7, we have a tiara so problematic that it's been modified multiple times and still causes issues. The Delhi Durbar tiara. Originally created for Queen Mary in 1911 for the Delhi Durbar celebration in India, this tiara was designed to be the most spectacular, imposing piece in the royal collection, and it succeeded, perhaps too well. The original design featured massive Cambridge emeralds at the base and was so tall and heavy that Queen Mary herself struggled with it. She eventually had the emeralds removed and replaced with diamonds, but even then the tiara remained notoriously uncomfortable. The Delhi Durbar is one of the tallest tiaras in the collection, with its pointed peaks reaching several inches above the head. This height, combined with its width and the weight of the diamonds, makes it incredibly front-heavy and unstable. Queen Mary was known for her stoic demeanor, but even she reportedly complained about this tiara. She once remarked that she felt like she was wearing a building on her head. When Queen Elizabeth II inherited the tiara, she wore it occasionally, but never seemed to favor it. It's telling that in her 70-year reign, she wore it only a handful of times. The current Queen Camilla has access to this piece, but so far she's chosen not to wear it publicly. Royal insiders suggest that after trying it on, she quickly understood why it's considered one of the most uncomfortable pieces in the collection. The engineering problem is simple. The human neck wasn't designed to balance that much weight that high up. Every slight movement of the head requires muscular effort to keep the tiara stable. Over hours, this causes severe neck strain, headaches, and fatigue. One lady-in-waiting recalled that after events where Queen Elizabeth wore particularly heavy tiaras, she would need neck massages and would often have visible marks on her forehead where the tiara frame had pressed into her skin. The Delhi Durbar tiara represents the ultimate challenge. It's historically significant, absolutely stunning, and nearly unwearable for extended periods. Tiara that Princess Eugenie chose for her wedding, and while it looked absolutely breathtaking, insiders revealed that she paid the price. The Greville Emerald Kokoschnik Tiara. This Art Deco masterpiece features a brilliant cut diamond pave set in platinum, formed into a Kokoschnik style with 6 emeralds on either side. It's one of the most visually striking pieces in the royal collection. Princess Eugenie wore this tiara for her 2018 wedding to Jack Brooksbank, and she looked absolutely radiant. But what the cameras didn't capture was what happened after the ceremony. According to sources close to the royal family, Eugenie was desperate to remove the tiara by the time the reception began. The Kokoschnik style, while beautiful, creates an extremely rigid band around the entire head. It's less like wearing a delicate crown and more like wearing a tight metal headband. The tiara was made in 1919, an era when tiaras were designed to be statement pieces, not comfortable accessories. The rigid platinum frame allows for very little flexibility, and the placement of the 6 emeralds on each side creates pressure points behind the ears. Eugenie reportedly had red marks around her entire forehead and behind her ears after wearing the tiara for several hours. Royal hairdresser Sunny Joe McFarlane, who has worked with several royal brides, explained that Kokoschnik-style tiaras are particularly challenging because they don't adjust well to different head shapes and sizes. Unlike some tiaras that can be slightly bent or adjusted by jewelers before wear, this piece must maintain its rigid shape to preserve the geometric Art Deco design. This means that if your head doesn't perfectly match the tiara circumference, you're gonna feel it. Additionally, the weight distribution in a Kokoschnik tiara is completely different from other styles. The weight is concentrated in a band around the entire head, rather than resting on a few points at the top. This can create a vice-like feeling, especially as the hours pass and the wearer becomes more fatigued. Eugenie chose this tiara specifically because she wanted something that wouldn't cover her neck scar from childhood scoliosis surgery. It was a meaningful choice, but one that came with considerable discomfort. We have a tiara with a dramatic history and an even more dramatic discomfort level, the Queen Mary Fringe Tiara. This is the tiara that famously broke just hours before Queen Elizabeth's wedding in 1947. The court jeweler had to rush to repair it while the young princess waited anxiously. But the real drama isn't just about that near disaster. It's about how uncomfortable this piece actually is to wear. The fringe tiara can also be worn as a necklace, which tells you something about its weight and design. It features brilliant diamonds set in a geometric fringe pattern, with each spike extending downward. Princess Anne wore this tiara for her wedding in 1973, and Princess Beatrice wore it for her scaled-down wedding in 2020. Both looked beautiful, but both also revealed later that the tiara was challenging to wear. The main problem with the fringe tiara is its construction. Each vertical element moves independently, creating a cascading effect that's visually stunning, but physically unstable. The diamonds shift with every movement, and the tiara has a tendency to slide backward or forward on the head. To keep it in place, it must be anchored with multiple pins and combs directly into the hair, often requiring a substantial amount of hairspray and backcombing. This means that removing the tiara afterward can be painful, pulling out hair and leaving the scalp sore. Additionally, the weight of the diamonds is concentrated in the hanging elements, making the tiara front-heavy. Wearers often report feeling like they need to constantly tilt their head slightly back to keep the tiara balanced. Queen Elizabeth wore this tiara occasionally throughout her reign, but less frequently in her later years. Royal watchers noted that she seemed to favor more stable, lighter pieces as she aged. The fragility of the piece adds psychological stress. Knowing that this tiara literally broke on her mother's wedding day, you can imagine that any royal wearing it is acutely aware that sudden movements could damage an irreplaceable piece of history. One former royal aide described the fringe tiara as beautiful but temperamental, much like wearing a chandelier on your head and hoping it doesn't crash. Number 4 on our list is a tiara that Queen Elizabeth II wore frequently, despite admitting it was uncomfortable, the Vladimir tiara. This stunning piece has a fascinating history. It originally belonged to the Grand Duchess Vladimir of Russia and was smuggled out of Russia during the Revolution. Queen Mary purchased it in 1921, and it's been in the British Royal Collection ever since. What makes the Vladimir tiara unique is its versatility. It can be worn with pearl drops, emerald drops, or with no drops at all, just the diamond loops. This interchangeability sounds wonderful, but it's actually part of the problem. When worn with the pearl or emerald drops, the Vladimir tiara becomes one of the heaviest pieces in the entire collection. The base structure alone is substantial, featuring 15 diamond loops. Adding the large emeralds or pearls increases the weight significantly. Queen Elizabeth II wore this tiara more than almost any other, particularly with the emerald drops for formal state occasions, but in private she acknowledged that it was one of the more challenging pieces to wear for extended periods. The tiara sits quite low on the forehead, and the weight of the hanging elements creates a downward pulling sensation. Royal hairdresser Ian Carmichael revealed that preparing the Queen's hair for the Vladimir tiara required extra support structures and more pins than usual. The psychological burden is also significant. The emeralds used in this tiara are the Cambridge emeralds, a historic set with enormous value. Wearing something so precious adds mental stress on top of physical discomfort. Princess Michael of Kent has also worn this tiara, and she's been photographed adjusting it multiple times during events. Body language experts note that she often touches her forehead or temples while wearing it, suggesting headache or pressure pain. What's particularly interesting about the Vladimir tiara is that despite its discomfort, Queen Elizabeth chose to wear it regularly. This speaks to the complex relationship royals have with their jewels. Sometimes duty and tradition outweigh personal comfort. A lady-in-waiting once recalled Her Majesty saying, after a particularly long state banquet, "The Vladimir certainly makes its presence known." This was about as close as the Queen would come to complaining. Modern royals continue to wear this piece, but they're more selective about when and for how long. Queen Camilla has worn it once publicly, and insiders say she has deep respect for Elizabeth's endurance in wearing it as often as she did. We've reached the top 3, And at number 3 is perhaps the most iconic and most dreaded piece in the entire collection, the imperial state crown. This is the crown that monarchs wear when leaving Westminster Abbey after coronation. It's the crown used for the state opening of Parliament. It's the crown featured in countless photographs and official portraits. And it's also one of the heaviest, most uncomfortable, and potentially dangerous pieces a monarch must wear. The imperial state crown weighs 2.3 pounds, or just over 1 kilogram. That might not sound like much, but remember, that's over 2 pounds balanced on top of your head, held in place by a velvet cap and metal frame. Queen Elizabeth II was famously candid about this crown in a rare 2018 documentary. She said, "You can't look down to read the speech. You have to take the speech up, because if you did, your neck would break. It would fall off." Let that sink in. The monarch of the United Kingdom admitted that the ceremonial crown used for one of the most important constitutional duties was so heavy it could potentially cause serious injury. The crown features 2,868 diamonds, 269 pearls, 17 sapphires, 11 emeralds, and 4 rubies, including the famous Black Prince's ruby and the Second Star of Africa diamond. All of these precious stones add significant weight. But it's not just the weight that's the problem, it's the weight distribution. The crown is top-heavy, with the large jewels creating an unstable center of gravity. Every time the monarch moves their head, they must consciously counterbalance the crown's movement. King Charles III experienced this firsthand during his coronation in 2023. Observers noted that he held his head very still and moved deliberately, likely aware of both the historical significance of the moment and the very real risk of the crown shifting, or worse, falling. The crown has a purple velvet cap and an ermine band, but these provide minimal cushioning. The metal frame sits directly on the skull, and after hours of wear, it creates visible indentations and pressure marks. Former Archbishop of Canterbury, who has placed the crown on 2 monarchs' heads, once said that you can see the weight's effect immediately. The monarch's entire bearing changes, their neck muscles visibly tense, and their movements become more careful and deliberate. Queen Elizabeth II wore this crown annually for the state opening of Parliament for most of her 70-year reign. In her later years, she began carrying the crown beside her on a cushion instead of wearing it, a subtle acknowledgement of its physical burden. The imperial state crown represents the weight of monarchy in the most literal sense. It's a symbol of duty, tradition, and sacrifice, and while it's one of the most magnificent objects in existence, it's also one of the most punishing to wear. We have the ultimate test of royal endurance, St. Edward's crown, the official coronation crown of British monarchs. If you thought the imperial state crown was heavy, wait until you hear about this one. St. Edward's crown weighs 4.9 pounds, or 2.23 kilograms. That's more than twice the weight of the imperial state crown. This crown is only worn once in a monarch's lifetime, during the actual moment of coronation. It's placed on the monarch's head by the Archbishop of Canterbury, and they wear it for the conclusion of the ceremony and the procession through Westminster Abbey. The crown was created for Charles II in 1661, and it's made of solid gold, not gold-plated, solid gold. The weight comes from the precious metal itself, topped with over 400 gemstones. Queen Elizabeth II wore St. Edward's crown during her 1953 coronation, and she later admitted that she practiced wearing it at home before the ceremony because she was worried about its weight. She would apparently walk around Buckingham Palace wearing it to build up her neck strength. In that same 2018 documentary, she said, "It's much heavier than the imperial state crown. You have to carry it. You have to sort of take it up. You can't look down." King Charles III also prepared extensively for wearing this crown during his 2023 coronation. At age 74, the physical demands were even greater. Royal sources revealed that he underwent neck-strengthening exercises and practiced balancing the crown for months leading up to the ceremony. During the actual coronation, viewers worldwide watched as the Archbishop carefully placed St. Edward's crown on King Charles's head. If you watch closely, you can see the exact moment the weight registers. His expression changes subtly, his neck muscles engage, and his entire posture adjusts to accommodate the burden. The crown sits on a purple velvet cap, but there's very little padding. The solid gold frame presses down on the skull, and within minutes, wearers report feeling intense pressure that radiates from the crown's contact points down through the neck and into the shoulders. Historically, some monarchs have reportedly felt faint while wearing St. Edward's crown during coronations. The combination of the crown's weight, the elaborate heavy robes, the heat from crowds and lights, and the emotional intensity of the moment can be overwhelming. One fascinating detail: the crown is so valuable and so heavy that it's kept in the Tower of London under extraordinary security. Before each coronation, it's transported with immense caution and insured for an amount that's never been publicly disclosed. After the coronation ceremony, the monarch immediately switches to the lighter imperial state crown for the procession out of Westminster Abbey. This tells you everything you need to know about St. Edward's crown. Even the imperial state crown, which is uncomfortable in its own right, feels like relief by comparison. St. Edward's crown is the ultimate symbol of monarchy, but it's also the ultimate physical test. Wearing it is literally carrying the weight of a nation's history on your head. And now, number 1. The piece that modern royals hate wearing most isn't actually a single item. It's all of them, collectively, over a lifetime of service. This might seem like a cop-out, but hear me out, because the real burden isn't wearing one uncomfortable tiara to one event. It's wearing uncomfortable jewelry for hours at hundreds of events over decades of service without ever being able to show discomfort, complain, or opt out. Imagine knowing that at your wedding, one of the happiest days of your life, you'll have to wear a heavy, uncomfortable tiara that might give you a headache, but you can't take it off. You have to smile through it. Imagine attending a 4-hour state banquet several times a year, every year, wearing a heavy tiara, tight necklace, and painful earrings. You can't adjust them too noticeably. You can't rub your sore neck. You certainly can't take them off. Imagine being photographed constantly, knowing that millions of people are watching your every expression, analyzing your every movement. You can't wince when the earring pinches. You can't grimace when the tiara slips. The late Queen Elizabeth II wore tiaras, crowns, and formal jewelry for over 70 years. Princess Anne has been wearing them for over 50 years. These aren't occasional accessories, they're regular requirements of royal duty. Queen Camilla has openly discussed the weight of expectation that comes with royal jewels. In a rare candid moment, she mentioned that wearing the crown jewels is always a mixture of honor and endurance. Princess Catherine has been photographed thousands of times wearing tiaras, and in almost every photo she looks serene and elegant, but she's admitted to friends that the physical demands of royal life, including the jewelry, take getting used to. What makes this even more challenging is that modern royals can't have most pieces altered. These are historic artifacts. They must be preserved exactly as they are. If they don't fit well, you endure it. If they're unbalanced, you compensate with posture and neck strength. And here's something most people never consider. Royal jewels aren't just physically uncomfortable, they're psychologically heavy. When you're wearing a tiara worth millions of pounds containing irreplaceable historical gemstones, you're constantly aware of the responsibility. One wrong move, one trip, one moment of carelessness, and you could damage something that has survived centuries. That mental burden is exhausting in its own way. Former Royal Protective Officer Simon Morgan once described watching the Queen prepare for a major state event. He said the transformation was remarkable. She would visibly steel herself when the jewels were brought out, as if preparing for battle. And that's really what it is. Wearing the crown jewels is part of the battle royal women fight, silently, elegantly, for decades. They fight against gravity, against discomfort, against fatigue, and they do it while smiling, waving, and making it look effortless. The crown jewels represent history, wealth, and power, but for the people who actually wear them, they represent something else: duty, sacrifice, and endurance. So the next time you see a royal at a state banquet, glittering with diamonds and looking absolutely perfect, remember, behind that polished exterior is very likely someone with a pounding headache, an aching neck, and sore ears who can't wait to get back to the palace and finally take it all off. 10 crown jewels that modern royals secretly hate wearing. From Princess Catherine's headache-inducing Cambridge lover's knot to the surprisingly brutal reality that wearing any of these pieces regularly is a form of endurance few of us can truly understand. These jewels are undeniably beautiful. They're masterpieces of craftsmanship, symbols of continuity, and repositories of history, but they're also heavy, uncomfortable, and sometimes genuinely painful to wear. The next time you watch a royal event, take a moment to appreciate not just the sparkle and glamour, but the physical reality behind it. These men and women are carrying pounds of precious stones on their heads and around their necks, often for hours, all while performing their duties flawlessly. It gives new meaning to the phrase, "Heavy is the head that wears the crown." What surprised you most from today's list? Did you have any idea that these beautiful pieces could be so uncomfortable? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the hidden reality of royal jewels, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell so you never miss our royal content. And if you want to see more behind-the-scenes royal stories, check out our video on 10 royal rules that modern royals secretly break, linked in the cards above. Thanks so much for watching, and remember, not all that glitters is comfortable. Sometimes it's actually quite painful. Until next time.